recording. And all right, guys, let's go File, New. This opens up, put 2 inches by 2 inches. Doesn't matter if it's portrait or landscape. And you could press Create. All right, moving again. The interface, I will just mention, go to Window, Workspace, go to Essentials Classic, reset it if your interface has been accidentally removed. For example, if you were to grab your toolbar here, you close this. If you go to Window, you can always go back to Workspace and reset it, and it'll go back to normal. All right, the font, use the text tool. Again, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention is if you click and hold, you get the other tools built into that one tool, okay? If you wanted to, you can actually click this part right here, and it floats that toolbar, okay? But anyways, click on your type tool, click once, do not click and drag, okay? So that's wrong. All right, click that and delete. You actually just want to click once, let go, type in your initials, and then play with the size and then the font. So I'm holding Shift. Please make sure you hold Shift. If you don't hold Shift, you're going to distort it. You don't want that. Holding Shift keeps it constrained. Go to your character dialog box. You can change the font. Say I want to go Helvetica. And voila. Okay? One thing you want to do right off the bat is get rid of the font and make it a shape. Right-click, create outlines. Go to Object and Ungroup, or you can also right-click and ungroup. All right? Click on Nothingness. What I mean by nothingness, somewhere where there's no graphic, so the gray area of your interface. That allows you to grab individual items. So in this case, I can grab this A and shift it and bring it over. Now, this is no longer a font. As I double click this, I won't be able to change the font style. So make sure you're happy with your font and your font choice before you move forward, okay? Another way of making graphics, let me go back a step. So Command Z, going back to when it was a font. If you go to Object and Expand, it does the same thing, just that you have an extra dialog box. Object, Ungroup, or you can right click and say Ungroup as well. Click on Nothingness, select the object. Now, it's a vector. You know you did well when you go to View and you go to the top here and say bring an outline, and you'll see that there's vector points connected to your object. Some students were asking me, sir, how do you manipulate the vector points? Well, once it's converted and it's expanded, it created the outline, grab the direct selection tool. This one, and be careful guys, let me explain, I'm zooming in. If I click on the object, I gotta now specify this point, and I can click and drag and move it. So if you want to smooth or play with the geometry, and for example, if I wanted to grab this part of the D, hold Shift and click this part of the D, I can grab and Shift and make this part of the D thicker, okay? If I want to remove points, go to your pencil here and say I want to use the Delete tool. And you can delete different points if you like to. Like say you want to stylize this and you want to change the angle of the inside of the vector, you can, okay? Click on this part of the A and you can drag it. This also reveals the radius tool for that section. Let me go back a step. If I click on this point specifically, this circle pops up. I can play with the radius of that point. Note, let me just go back a step here. If I select the whole object and I click my direct selection tool, I can click all the radiuses all at once. Keep that in mind. Okay, let me go back to normal view here. Now, Mr. Almeida, I want to bring these letters, but I actually don't want them touching, but I'm going to add a bridge or some type of material. Well, what you can do is go to your shape tool. So look for the rectangle, click and hold it, you have different shapes. Say I want to bring a bridge of some sort, and I'm going to use this rectangle to connect these two shapes together, okay? So I'm going to make this the same height as the width of this part of the A. And what I'm going to do here is go to Window, I apologize, and click on the Pathfinder tool. Now, when you select more than one object, it pops up over here. It's called Pathfinder. So notice I have the A, I hold Shift and that rectangle and this D, this pops up. If it doesn't pop up, go to Window and click on Pathfinder. So I go to P, there it is. Now this dialog box pops up, I have more options. What I want to do here is combine all the shapes together. So I'm going to get my selection tool, hover over top a marquee, and it'll select everything inside that rectangle. So I got the A, the rectangle, and the D. The first mode is called unite. I say weld, but what I'm doing is I'm uniting all those shapes. Take a note, when I click on this, do you guys see how that D, the rectangle, and the A are now combined as one? Yes or no? All right, yes. So that's important, okay? Now, Mr. Almeida, what if I wanted to, for example, grab a star, click a star. Oops, not that many. Let's just make this a 5-started star. And I wanted to put this over here. Here, let me just change the color. And I actually wanted a cutout of the star. I'm going to rotate this just to make it stylized. Okay. So right now, technically, this is not cut out. It's just a shape on top of a shape. So watch this. Have the shape you want to cut out placed on top. And if you right-click, you can also go arrange. You can say to the front or to the back. Obviously, I want this shape on top, so I want to bring it to the front. It already is. I'm just showing if somehow this shape accidentally went behind. It happens sometimes. You can select a shape, right-click on it, and say, hey, I want you to the front. Okay. Now, if I select these two shapes, the star and my DA, the next shape is called minus the front. And what this does, it kind of makes a donut hole and cuts through. Now, to prove this, do you see how I can see through it now? Right? So that's what the minus tool is. It lets you to cut through shapes. Now, you have a decision here. Do I include a nice border around my shape? If you do, I'll just show you quickly. You want to use the, say, the rectangle tool. Make sure it's just the stroke tool activated. So I have no color in my fill and just have the stroke. When I click and drag, I'll make a rectangle shape. Now, what you want to do is, in some cases, you might want to thicken out the stroke thickness. Click on this little icon here, stroke. Again, if you can't find it, go to Window, go to S, and it'll pop up. Okay? If you want more options, say show more options. And if you select that object and you click, you can change the thickness of that stroke. Okay? There's some preset sizes you can pick from. Okay? If you're happy with that, you have to make sure that this is no longer a shape. A stroke. You got to go to Object and expand it. What that does now, it gives it a inside and outside shape. So when I press OK, you'll see that it is now a shape that has an inside-outside. So I can now grab all these objects, go to my Pathfinder tool, and combine them. So now it's all one solid shape. And then you decide whether or not you want to add the loop. I'll show you the loop. Now, say I wanted this to, I'm going to hold a shift. Say it's going to dangle upwards like this. Okay? Whoa. Again, if you want to click the transform button, play with the dimensions and say, hey, I want this to be constraint, and I want this to be a maximum of 1.75 inches, and you'll see the dimensions of this are 1.7 by 1, okay? Now, again, direct selection tool, if you want to play with radiusing some of the corners, you can click on a corner, radius it. On the outside, you can do the same thing as well. Grab that, radius it. That's up to you how you want to play with your design. In retrospect, I would have radiused it first before I would have gone any further. But anyways, how do you make the loop? If you want to do an Illustrator, grab a ellipse tool. Make sure it's stroke only. Click and drag the shape. Position it to where you want it. I'll play with the thickness of my line stroke. A little bit more. Oh, not maybe that much. Whoa, what's going on here? Yeah, that's a good thickness. Grab the object. Move it to where you want, but you want part of it to be touching the actual plastic. If I select both objects, I go to my line tool. You can also make it centered, so you know that this is centered of that shape. So when you have two or more things selected, this will pop up and you can have options for alignment, either here or you click your alignment tool, okay? In retrospect, that's a bit too big. I'm going to shrink it down. Okay. Again, this object needs to be expanded. So I'm going to go Object and Expand, and it's going to make it a shape. You pick and choose how much of the plastic you want it to touch into. And then you can go to your Pathfinder tool and select both objects and say, I want to weld it together. Okay? And then from there, Direct Selection tool, when you click on a specific point, you get the options to play with the radius. Okay? Now, if you choose to do this in Tinkercad, then exclude this step and you can do it afterwards. What you're going to do now is you're going to save this. Okay? Almeida, keyring, 4. In this case, I'm going to say 4. Sorry, I apologize. Almeida, David. I can't spell my name right. Keyring, and I'll put 4 because I know I say this a few times as an illustrator. Great. Then you're going to go File, Save As. And you're going to drop this down, and you're going to pick SVG. SVG is a file format that other software like. When this pops up, just press the OK. Don't worry about what version. It'll work. And then you're done. And then I'll show you in another video how to bring in your vector file into a 3D program. Okay? Now, before I conclude this video, is there anything that I may have not addressed and you're thinking of? Questions? Did I cover all the bases there? Am I forgetting something? Or that was pretty much all you wanted to learn? You're good? All right, I'm going to conclude the video. It'll be posted onto the assignment so you have a reference if I can't always be there for you guys. Okay? All right.